I'm releasing a dream that carries weight, warning, and clarity for this hour. This is not a dream to be sensationalized, diluted, or forced into assumptions. It must be handled with earnest intention, precision, and alignment. To be clear, the message focus is not on panic or defeat, but on vigilance, governmental prayer, and territory protection. Here's the dream. In the dream, I was flying from an elevated place. I saw a fortified city occupied by people. The city was built in the middle of the crater. Here, the crater symbolizes a place that has experienced significant impact or upheaval in the past. Its buildings were vibrant in color, and the infrastructure was unique in its design. There was beauty there, intention there, and something about it was clearly distinct from the ordinary. Above the city was an upper layer with watchtowers. The watchtowers represented spiritual vigilance and responsibility. People were moving up and down from the watchtowers in shifts. As I looked, I heard the sound of prayer coming from those watchtowers. Their prayer was active, powerful, and aligned with covenant agreement. As people prayed, a shift or a shield was formed over the city. The shield is a metaphor for the protection created by collective dedicated prayer. It reflected light, it glowed, it stood as a protective barrier over the people inside. After this, the scene shifted, guiding me toward a distant land marked by a thick, deep forest. A roadway led into the forest. When I looked back to the left toward the city, it now appeared almost like a body of water, perhaps even a sea. My attention then returned to the forest. As I looked, a dark cloud emerged. It hovered over the forest, and whatever it remained, decay followed. The forest began to die under its presence. It was as though death itself was spreading through that region. Then suddenly, the dark cloud struck the shield over the city with force. It pressed against the protective barrier and submerged itself on top, searching for a weak spot, seeking a breach through which it could enter. But there was none. Inside the city, the watchmen increased their prayers. As they did, light began to shoot upward from the watchtowers and form, or from the city within itself, it formed a protective barrier over the city. The barrier over the city radiated more intensely, and the light began to damage the dark cloud. The dark cloud withdrew from its attempt to penetrate the shield, but it did not vanish. It returned to the forest and it where it already had destroyed and remained hovering there as if it was waiting for another opportunity to strike again. Then I heard the people inside of the protected shield. They began singing, praising, and praying to Almighty God who sits in heaven, and his presence is what was made known. Now here's the interpretation from the dream. Now the dream is a watchman's dream. It is a dream of a territory kept by prayer, a people guarded by vigilance, and a remnant whose worship outlasts assaults. The first thing to understand is that this dream is a corporate in nature. The city represents a organized people under protection. It is just about one, it's not just about one individual. It speaks of a collective reality of people being reserved, an inhabited place, and a government spiritual environment, meaning that they had some level of structure and some level of order in their prayer, and also how they conduct the ways of life in that particular city. Now, the city was fortified. That matters. The reason is because this was not a weak or exposed place. It was a well structured, guarded, and established region or location. The city was also built in the middle of a crater, a place marked by past devastation, yet within it emerged order, beauty, color, and life. What should have remained broken became inhabited, fortified, and alive. Now, the watchtowers above the city represent spiritual oversight, discernment, and the assignment of watchmen. Now, the shield that formed over the city was a result of prayer being released and attention. Now, the prayers of the watchmen were producing real protection as they continued to pray. What you don't see in the images is that there was angelic force that was assisting and protecting while the prayers were going forth. One of the dream's strongest revelations is that prayer wasn't a symbolic, decorative type of action. It was an active perseverance of people guarding their territory against this unseen negative dark force. Now, what you do see in the dream, and what you see in the images of the dream, is that towards the end, I tried to, through AI, reveal the principality behind the dark force that was sitting and waiting. Now, as the vision deepened, the dream shifted focus to the forest. Now, the forest was deep, thick, and distant. In the dream, the forest represents a region vulnerable, a region that was dense, and a region that was hidden, but it was exposed through corruption. A metaphor for uncharted territory, spiritual warfare, stagnation, and unprotected spiritual occupancy. Now, it was a place where death could spread under the right influence. The roadway leading into both the city, the fortified city, or the city in the crater, or into the forest, the roadway represented access. There was a route, a connection, a point of movement between two spheres. Now, the dark cloud emerged. And when the dark cloud emerged, the dark cloud represented a destructive spiritual force, a metaphor for spiritual attack or oppression. Its effect was immediate. Decay, corruption, and desolation occurred. This was not a vague darkness, but an active oppressive force. What followed was a pivotal moment. And what was the pivotal moment? It turned from the forest and struck the shield over the city. It tested the perimeter. It pressed the barrier. Even the images that you saw, it cracked the shield. It searched for a weak place. It looked for a breach. This was a language of, or this was an image of a targeted spiritual assault. Now, I'll be careful on that word because I don't want to get flagged, but it was a spiritual attack on that particular fortified city. But the dream is equally clear. There was no breach when dedicated prayer and committed prayer was going forth. The dark force could not penetrate what had been established through prayer and maintained through the watch. In response, the atmosphere within the city changed. The watchmen increased their prayers. Light rose not only from the towers, but also from within the city. This means the shield's strength came from the watchmen and the people inside, who actively contributed to the protection of their family, their city, and their atmosphere. Now, this point matters because preservation came through watchfulness, unity. We said preservation came through watchmen, it came through unity, collective community, and worship throughout the city. And the results of that is that the shield grew brighter and stronger. The darkness was pushed back. It could not breach against the shield, the barrier, the barrier shield. And the dark cloud retreated, but it did not disappear. The dream does not show the annihilation of the threat, but rather its restraint and containment, revealing a defeated attempt and persistent danger. The cloud returned to the place it had decayed, waiting for another opportunity. This insight means that complacency is not an option. The protection is real, but it must be a continuous process of watching, praying, and building. The shield held because the watch did not stop. The watchmen, the prayers did not stop. The singing, the worship did not stop. The barrier strengthened because prayer intensified. The atmosphere within the city did not collapse into fear, it rose into praise. This is why darkness could not prevail. Darkness could not prevail. The dream is speaking of three things. Three things. The first, it speaks of a territory where God has placed watchmen to prevent invasion. Second, it speaks of a call to recognize and join a watchman assignment, not merely observe from a distance. Third, it reveals seer discernment regarding the condition of a people and the nature of the warfare around them. This is not a time of exaggeration, it is a call to alignment and to action. Step up, engage, respond, and not take a place, or step up, engage, respond, and take a place in your call to watch in your particular hour. There are territories being preserved because someone is watching. There are people being protected because someone is praying. Assaults that have not succeeded because there was no breach. And there are those who are giving sight from above so they can understand what is taking place in the natural, so they can pray against those things that are unseen or in the supernatural. To summarize everything, the dream is about governmental prayer. It's about territory preservation and a remnant whose worship is stronger than the assault against them. A dream is not a message of fear. It is a message of revelation, responsibility, and restraint. It reveals the reality of destructive forces, the vulnerability of unprotected regions, and the pressure on protected territory. Above all, it reveals a people under covering whose praise is stronger than the force that's seeking to entry. The warning in the dream is not that the shield failed, because the shield did not fail. The warning is that the dark force awaits for the opportunity. This is why the watch must remain. This is why you must be diligent to watch and pray. This is why prayer must not become occasional. This is why prayer must be a constant, consistent communication and decree and declaration in the spirit realm. This is why discernment must not be ignored. If you have clarity of what is happening, do not stand at a distance. Simple, you must act now. You must respond actively and take your position with conviction. Take your position in prayer with conviction. And what the dream reveals is preservation. It reveals assignment. It reveals that where heaven has established a watch, darkness will contest. Heaven's established a watch. Darkness will contest to see if there's a breach in which it can strike, if there is a breach in which it can occupy that space and take over that territory. But it must not have the authority to do that. It must not enter, not even a speck. Well, this is Dream, y'all. If y'all have any comments, just leave them in the comment section, and like to hear y'all feedback on that. Take care.